Hello and welcome back to The Stage Door, presented by Canberra Arts on Rogers TV right here in Corner Brook. I'm your host, Ian Locke, and there are events starting to trickle back in as we head toward February. Winter certainly struck in full force, so no better time to get out of the snow into a nice, warm, intimate venue to hear some wonderful music. I'm here with a fantastic musician who calls Corner Brook home, Jennifer Billard. So Jennifer, welcome to The Stage Door. Thanks for dropping in.
Thank you, Ian.
Jennifer is a colleague of mine at Canberra Arts. She has a thriving music studio there, teaches some group programming, and is also a performer regularly in our summer season and throughout the year. So it's great to have you on The Stage Door now to introduce you to a bit more of the broader community. And of course, recently, you've taken the position of organist at First United. So we'll talk a bit more about that as we talk on. But first, we'll ask where it all began. So where did that journey of music begin for you?
Oh my goodness. I think I got to start with my grandfather bringing home an LP of Cinderella. Oh. And my nan looking at him and saying, my gosh, Ron, she's not going to listen to that. That is just, that's opera. And he said, oh, well, and anyway, they put it on for me, and I had this little, those horsies that you ride on when you're 1 and 2 years old. And apparently they put on the Cinderella opera record, and I would bounce away for hours listening to the opera. And eventually I was singing with it. And my grandmother heard from the kitchen these notes coming out and was like, what is going on? And here was 1.5-year-old, 2-year-old Jennifer bouncing away singing opera with Cinderella. So I think that's kind of the start.
Wow, that is some deep-rooted appreciation of music. But, I think we are so often influenced by what we hear and what we're given the opportunity to hear at those kind of formative years. For me, a musician like Krista Berg has become my favorite, and in my generation, that's certainly not the most popular. I remember going to a concert with Mom and Dad, and I was certainly the youngest in the room, but it's because that's what Dad listened to. Mm-hmm. That and a lot of Stuart McLean at the Vinyl Cafe, which featured some great musicians from around Canada. So it's funny, those my formative years are on cassette tape. There's specific cassettes that I remember distinctly, the order of things. So I think Cinderella is certainly quite the influence to have. And you grew up mostly in Clarenville, yes, but have really kind of traveled around. So what was your journey toward becoming a professional artist that eventually culminated in arriving here?
I'll try and summarize.
I know, this is a big one.
Yeah, because it's been a long journey. But I started in a really small town, Clarenville. I think when I was growing up there was maybe about 3,000 people. Not a lot of thriving music, but we were doing what we could. So I had a teacher who was, 13, 14 years old when I was a child learning. And when I got to a certain point, some of the local people in the area suggested that I make the journey out to St. John's, to the big city, to take lessons out there. And that's when I started studying with Jacinta Graham. Was a huge influence upon me, and she works, of course, out in St. John's, and then I went off and I did piano, actually. So I played flute, I sang opera, and I played the piano all the way through and auditioned to Mun on all three. And I was accepted, but I really, Jacinta said to me, what is it that you do when you start practicing singing? And I said, well, the first thing I do is I play the piano parts. So she said, I think that's your answer. I think maybe piano's for you. So I went off. I did my performance degree at Mun, did a lot of fantastic, met a lot of fantastic people. Doing chamber music, worked with Richard Ramon and André Laplan and different Canadian pianists. And it's just been a fantastic journey there. I wound up at the University of Calgary, and that's where I did my master's degree, and ended up kind of changing over to voice in the middle of all of this. I met a wonderful voice teacher and some wonderful people. And I mostly did a ton of collaborative pianist work. I premiered a ton of new compositions for a lot of the upcoming composers. And yeah, played for a lot of recitals and just had a ton of fun. And then, of course, I did my own stuff and got my degree in opera, my master's degree. So, and then eventually led me back to Newfoundland to start my own studio. And so before coming to Corner Brook, I ran my own studio called Jennifer's Music Studio, which was out of Clarenville, or Shoal Harbour, actually. And I ran that for about 10 years before coming over to the West Coast. So
there we go. So it's certainly quite an established journey.
That's the short version.
Yeah, exactly. But I think it's amazing how so many of the artists we have, that's the journey. You go place to place where the work is, or where something is that you find a connection to. Always learning, always engaged in some form of education and continuing that. I think that's one of the joys about music and the arts, is you want to continue, because every single person can teach you something new, whether it's something that you will enjoy doing and want to do, or something that you do not want to do again. It's still those opportunities to really learn and get to share that. And I think in your arrival here, it's been a great time so far. And pretty well right off the bat, you worked with Canberra Arts one summer with a production of Flair, directed by Edmund McLean, a notable Corner Brook notoriety personality, and really quite interesting, to arrive and have those chances to work with someone who was a legend in kind of Corner Brook's formative years of the arts, and has since moved away and come back to get to work with new people, and of course partnering that with myself and Wendy Woodland and Tracy Michaelides, who is just an incredible artist from Ontario, and yourself, who is an incredible collaborative pianist that we're very fortunate to have, and then starting a studio here. So what would you say are the big benefits to not only performing music, but being able to teach it and be a teaching artist?
That's a good question.
It's a big one too.
Time to think about that one. I think, performing is great. We get to share our craft, we get to share our ideas, we get to share our passion for music. And I think that's really important to share with the young people, students and those that are interested in becoming students, those that are out there that are just enjoying music, not sure what kind of gift or way to go with it for them. So exploring different artists, local artists especially, different styles, and seeing what kind of works, what kind of styles they might gravitate towards, what things they might experiment with themselves, I think offers an awful lot. My background is so rooted in the classical world that I always, when I'm instructing, I like to give a good foundation. Because as they say, that foundation for that classical technique, then you can apply to anything else you hear. So if you're out listening to some folk, you're out listening to jazz, whatever it is, all of that technique then goes over. And it just broadens the things you can take in, and the things that you that might speak to you that you maybe didn't realize before. And kind of going back to that classical world, I think, I was exposed very young, quite accidentally. And I think sometimes we hesitate because we think the classical world is a stuffy world where we must be very rigid and do what's necessary. And I think it's a beautiful thing to bring children, especially young children, and even if they, make noise and have a bit of a time there, that's okay, because that's all what it was about. Back in Mozart's and Beethoven's day, this was the entertainment of the community. This was what you brought your families to see. This is what any kind of socioeconomic class was available to come and watch this, and appreciate it and absorb it. So I like to say classical's for everyone. It doesn't mean you have to have an education. It doesn't mean you have to have some kind of beyond knowledge of music to enjoy and experience that. And I think it's a great thing. And the younger you start with that appreciation, the better.
Absolutely. And I think it's worth noting too that, not every student, you have a variety of students right now, some that plan to go to music school, some that are just starting and are 4, really just starting the instrument and their voice, and some adults that are picking it up as something to challenge themselves and to be able to break out at parties or for a fun thing. So I think that's an important note to the community, is give it a try.
Yeah.
Reach out. It's really a wonderful thing to have that connection.
I used to say
one-on-one.
I teach children as young as 3 and as old as 78
Yeah.
is my oldest voice student doing her grade 4 exams. So I say it's never too late to start, never too late to have a goal, never too late to grow and have some appreciation and love of music.
Yeah, absolutely. So Jennifer is a roster of a whole group of studio teachers at Graham Academy through Canberra Arts. And you could check that out, grahamacademy.ca. You could certainly send us a note. There's still lots of openings and still lots of time. While the music festival is booked up, there's lots of opportunity for other types of learning in the studio. And before we talk about this show that's coming up, Piano Woman, we're going to talk a little bit about your kind of stint now as an organist at First United Church. So this summer you were able to meet Wayne Rogers, who actually was a major part in installing that instrument here in Corner Brook, a major advocate for it, organist at that church for quite some time, working with him and his former pupil, Diantha Edmonds. And you managed to get a lesson in, and then right before that, got the job interim, and now are the job permanently as the organist. So what has that been to not only play that instrument, but get an opportunity to meet someone who knew it so well before stepping in full in September into January?
Yeah, well, it's just almost a bit of serendipity because I was just thinking, I should look and see if anyone's looking for an organist, because I've been a church organist at many different places over the years. For about 20 years. I think I started actually, probably longer than that. I think I started when I was 13 years old and the Anglican church back home. So coming here, I was just working with Wendy Woodland, and I had done some things with the Salvation Army Citadel, and I said, I wonder what's around. And then just honestly, like an hour later, you messaged and said, they're looking for someone. And then literally the next day, I received a message asking to meet with me about taking this job. And again, it was just a wonderful thing because I had, it'd been a long time since I played such an impressive instrument. I learned on the Cass Van organ at Cochrane Street United in St. John's under Patricia Young, which was such an honor. And I don't think I realized when I was so young how special that was to be sitting at a full, 4-manual giant pipe organ and have that kind of sounds at my disposal was just unbelievable. So, I worked with her. I worked with Kai Adams as well in St. John's when I was at MUN. And then, all over, did different jobs, and mostly on those little Hammond organs. That's usually the affordable thing that churches have. But then walking into First, which is now amalgamated and will be referred to now going forward as Corner Brook United. So we'll try and keep it there.
Absolutely.
So it's Corner Brook United. But I mean, the instrument is just a blessing to play every Sunday. I'm really enjoying it. I'm getting to know it. A lot of my foot pedaling things are all coming back from not having those kinds of organs. So it's just been a wonderful experience to kind of increase my own abilities as well, and to get back into those things that I hadn't been doing as regularly for a while, and starting working with the choir again, which has been so much fun. They are just a wonderful group of people, and if anyone is at First United and feels that they would love to come and sing with us, we would love to have you. We are always happy and welcoming to have new members. And we're having a great time. I'm having a lot of fun with them. I hope they're having fun with me, and I'm really enjoying our worship together so far. So I think it's a good pairing so far going forward, and I look forward to our future together down there.
Excellent. So that's Corner Brook United happening with a regular choir. And I should mention, too, not only do you lead and accompany that choir, but you're also the collaborative pianist and co-lead with the chorale,
Yes.
which is through Canberra Arts, a community choir with over more than 100 people interested. Usually we have about 60 or so show up regularly. So that's always open too for the community. I know we've had a lot of new members this January, which is really exciting.
Yep.
And some of your recent studio students have joined. So really exciting to have that cross-pollination. And I think it just goes to show how connected a place can be, that you know, when reached out about that organist position, it's like, I think I know someone. Are you interested? Okay. I do know someone. Here you go. And then it comes through, and then Wayne's here.
Yeah.
And not only that, it's worth mentioning that Gary Graham, the namesake of Graham Academy, played that organ for many years as well. And I think a neat fun fact, a little trivia, is Gary had a penchant for owls, which Jennifer has a sizable interest in as well, which was a very neat serendipity when Jennifer joined the team.
Everyone sees me wearing my owls, and I'm like, I know, it's just like, it was just perfect.
Yeah,
I walk in, there's owls everywhere. It's like, excellent. None of them are going to go. Perfect. Yeah. We're only going to add.
There we are. So before we talk about Piano Woman coming up on February 21st, we're going to have a sneak peek from that right now, and then we'll be right back to talk about the show and what you can expect.
Sometimes I wonder if I'm ever gonna make it home again. It's so far and out of sight. I really need someone to talk to, and nobody else knows how to comfort me tonight. Snow is cold, rain is wet, chills my soul right to the marrow. I won't be happy till I see you alone again, till I'm home again and feeling right. Snow is cold, rain is wet, chills my soul right to the marrow. I won't be happy till I see you alone again, till I'm home again and feeling right. Till I'm home again and feeling right. I wanna be home again and feeling right.
So that was a great sneak peek of Piano Woman. I'll take a moment now to talk about what is coming up. There's a lot. So January 31st and February 1st, the Rotary Arts Centre is continuing their tradition of the Leonard Cohen Tribute Show. On February 8th, Lovely Bones, a great duo that you're going to want to see doing a Canadian singer-songwriter tribute at the Rotary Arts Centre. February 9th, the Trans-Canada Highwaymen, a recently formed supergroup celebrating not only some of their own tunes from different bands like Sloan, Pursuit of Happiness, Bare Naked Ladies, but also that era of 70s Canadiana. So that's going to be quite interesting. That's at the Arts and Culture Centre. And of course, I want to say the Rotary Arts Centre continues their drawing sessions and all of those wonderful visual arts activities. And this February, Black History Month, they have their Wednesday movies. They are showing The Color Purple, the recent musical adaptation, Little Richard, I Am Everything, and Bob Marley's One Love to celebrate Black History Month at the Rotary Arts Centre. Lots coming up. In addition to that, Canberra Arts has 2 events this February happening in our space at 110 Humber Road, which I do want to let you all know. Even though it's quite intimidating that there's a big stairway, there is an elevator. It is an accessible building, so we'd love to have you there. And if you have any questions, don't hesitate to reach out. We want to make sure that everyone's able to access this wonderful historic space. It's very cozy, and what better way to spend the Valentine's month in a cozy, intimate setting, listening to great music. And if you're not a Valentine's person, that's okay. It's still dreary and winter outside. It's still great to come into the warm, intimate, cozy space. So on February 14th, there's Silly Love Songs. We were talking with Nick Hamlin last week. And February 21st, there is Piano Woman, which Jennifer is the creator, artist that's being showcased. So Jennifer, we talked about kind of presenting you, and you brought this idea. So what sparked that as like, oh, I could do this?
Well, originally, I wanted to do a classical piano recital. And it's just, it's a hard thing to kind of to pull off the ground, the time, and all of those things. And we wanted to do something in February. So I thought, well, I have all these songs that I love to sing and play, and I never perform them. So this is a great opportunity. So I've, had some things already in my arsenal, and then some things that I've always wanted to learn, and now have got a reason to learn them. And do them. So so it's going to be, hopefully it'll be a kind of fun, a bit of variety. There will be, some love songs. If you're not into that, that's okay. I'm not particularly a Valentine's Day person either. But a love song or two will be in there. Some heartbreaking songs. There'll be some up-tempo kind of, more piano impressive things. I do plan to feature some Canadian music on the program. So some of that may be new to a lot of people, but there's some great groups out there. One in particular that I love is Ben Folds 5. He's got a lot of really great fiery piano parts and fun stuff. So I do like to do that. Of course, I'm definitely going to feature some Carole King. She's one of my absolute favorites and idols. I just absolutely love her music. So there will be some Carole King on there. Can't do Piano Woman without little Billy Joel. So there may be some of that. Might be some Coldplay, definitely some Beatles. And there also is going to be some original music. So I don't always like to, don't know how I feel about, saying, come hear my original stuff. But, I hope that you'll enjoy it. It will be definitely a premiere for me. These will be new things that I've never done before. So, I hope that might uplift you or give you something to think about, or as well as all the old favorites that you probably know and love, and hope that you will enjoy and come hear me sing and play.
Well, that is so exciting to hear, that there's some originals, as a producer. That's such a privilege to know that's going to be featured. I think that's really what we are striving to do at Canberra Arts, is give community musicians the chance to have an intimate performance space with no risk attached, because that's obviously the challenge. The time that goes into this is extensive. It's a lot, and that doesn't count the years of training that has led to the time for rehearsal. So I think it's an important note that we always try to mention here on the Stage Door is what happens before you see the show. A show really is the tip of the iceberg. That is the thing that we see, and it's striking and quite amazing to look at, but there's so much more underneath, from education to training to collaboration with different artists that have guided you, to finding your own voice, to actual rehearsal for this show, to the show. And the show is an amazing, impressive thing in itself, and I'm sure this one will be no exception to that. And we're so thankful to have the opportunity to present it in our space on that wonderful instrument in the space, and hopefully to have really full houses this February. So like I said, the space is accessible. Depending on ticket sales, we're looking at options as well. Because our parking lot's fairly small, we're looking at actually having some chauffeuring from the Immaculate Heart parking lot to bring people right up to either that elevator or stairway door, just to limit the walking. No one wants to walk in winter. No one wants to walk uphill in winter. So, buy your tickets in advance, because that will allow us to make that plan. We do have a liquor license there and a bar too, so it's going to be a wonderful social evening. For both those shows on the 14th and 21st, tickets are moving. So I recommend you go on to canberraarts.ca and buy in advance. That's the best way to secure your spot. And I will say for both those shows, we have a bundle up discount, 10% off when you buy 2 tickets. So that's a great way of saving a bit of money while you go out and bring a friend, because that's what community music and music is all about, is bringing that in and having it together. So as we wrap up this episode of The Stage Door, don't forget to check out all those upcoming events from the Arts and Culture Centre, the Rotary Arts Centre, and from us at Canberra Arts this February. And we'll clue up with Jennifer giving another sneak peek of Piano Woman. See you next week at The Stage Door.
When the rain is blowing in your face and the whole world is on your case, well, I could offer you a warm embrace to make you feel my love. When the evening shadows and the stars appear and there's no one there to dry your tears, well, I could hold